Blake Snell signs with the San Francisco Giants, a pretty robust starting staff up there by the Bay in the National League West.
Yeah, you get Logan Webb and Blake Snell, 1-2 punch here. So sometimes you take a look at the regular season, Ben, and ask yourself, is that going to be good? Absolutely, it's going to be good. But you know where it's great? If you get to the postseason in a short series and you're lining up Webb and Snell if they're healthy at that time and pitching well. That'll be a tough out. That's a good move for San Francisco. My goodness. That division in baseball, the NL West, absolutely tremendous. Snell goes over it, but also keep in mind, it's really a one-year deal, Ben. It's a 2-year deal with a 1-year opt-out for Snell. So if he's really bad this year, he opts back in and gets another $30 million the following year. If he's really good, we play this game again, and then he probably gets signed a day before spring training next year as well as a Boris client.
It's part of the Boris cycle that as you get closer and closer to a Major League Baseball season actually starting, that's when the leverage is all to the representation. As you look at the National League West, a division that Blake Snell is familiar with, having spent the last few seasons, including last year as the NL Cy Young winner in San Diego, it is stacked, led by the Dodgers, who have won the divisional crown 10 of the last 11 years, minus 600 for LA to make it 11 in 12. But the reigning NL pennant winners are in the division as well. That's the Arizona Diamondbacks, an 11-1 price. Now, around the association, 15 games or less for pretty much every team, all 30 NBA clubs down the home stretch of this regular season. And two teams that should be in the Eastern Conference playoffs just have to figure out where they sit in the seed line, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. Both teams shorthanded last night in the city of brotherly love. The total was just 206, and it stays under. Neither team reaching the century mark. Philly had a big lead entering the fourth quarter, up by 14. They hold off Miami. They win 98-91 by 7. Philly actually closed as a 2.5-point, 3-point home favorite. They cover the number.
Yeah, we asked Coach yesterday when we had him in studio, or at least I asked him, I said, what gives here at this point here? How the Philadelphia 76ers favored over anybody, let alone the Heat? Jimmy Butler is anticipated in that starting lineup in the morning yesterday. Turns out he did not play, and the Sixers were the better team. That is a massive win in the standings, because if you're looking to stay in that top 6, that gives the Sixers the advantage now over the Miami Heat and also the Indiana Pacers. Good win for the Sixers as they wait, getting even more good news with Joel Embiid back on the practice court for the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. We'll see when he comes back, but that's a nice win for the Sixers standings-wise in the East yesterday.
Philadelphia now into that 6th spot after an Indiana loss at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pacers were a 6.5-point home favorite. They lost outright by 5. Plenty more around the association. Now an interconference matchup between the New York Knicks out in San Francisco against the Golden State Warriors. And the Knickerbockers are rolling at the moment, even without OG Anunoby, who is expected to miss some more time due to an elbow injury. But New York does go to San Francisco and wins outright 119-112. They were booked as a 5.5-point road underdog.
It's a tough team right there. And also the odds boost yesterday from the FanDuel Sportsbook did not cash in this one. We needed 9 combined threes from Steph and Jalen Brunson. Only got the 7. That's a great performance by Brunson. 34-7 yesterday in a victory on the road. Now the Warriors, how about this? 17-18 on their home court this season. Not good enough, Ben.
Just the 6th game for New York, or 7th game rather, that has gone over in the calendar year 2024. 29 games played for New York. 22 have been under. That was an over last night, 211.5. Anthony Edwards is a human highlight reel each and every night. And DRS put together maybe the best dunk of the year, topping his best dunk of the year in Salt Lake. Minnesota was on the road taking on the Jazz, and the Ant-Man rises up and throws one down. 114-104, the final score in the game. The Timberwolves win on the road in Salt Lake. Minnesota, a team to keep an eye on near the top of the Western Conference standings.
Yeah, tough scene for John Collins there, because not only did he get dunked on, it's a highlight reel that you're going to be put on a poster. It grabs his head as if he was hurt laying on the ground. So even more accolades going to Ant-Man's direction as he literally destroyed an NBA player in mid-flight. That's what he does. He's going to be an NBA MVP candidate in the next couple of years. But more importantly, the Minnesota Timberwolves on that fight for that number 1 overall seed, going on the road and handling their business.
Minnesota, a half game behind OKC. They are tied in that 2nd spot alongside the reigning champs, the Denver Nuggets. 32 points, by the way, for Anthony Edwards last night, 13 of 23 from the field. Some more NFL news around the National Football League. Chase Young, after being dealt from Washington to San Francisco, now has a new home. He signs a 1-year deal worth $13 million to join the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, when he got traded over to San Francisco last year from Washington, you knew he was only going to be a rental here. Worked out fairly well for the 49ers. Didn't catch that Super Bowl ticket, but he's on his way with a nice little payday there in New Orleans.
Yep, he certainly is. 5 years in the NFL after being a second overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Alexander Madison, released by Minnesota earlier this offseason after 5 years with the Vikes. He has a new home out in Las Vegas. He will join the Raiders running back room. That, of course, will look a little bit different, probably led by Zamir White, who is in his first couple years of his NFL career out of Georgia.
Yeah, needed somebody to replace Jacobs there. You got a guy. Now you can have that backfield by committee. I think it'll work out okay for the Raiders there.
And we have some more news in the National Football League. Leighton Vander Esch, the longtime linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, plagued by neck injuries in his NFL career, announces that after 8 seasons, he is retiring, or at the age of 28, rather, retiring due to neck issues. Around the association, up next here on the Early Line.